Hi, I'm Brett Middleton, and in the next 10 minutes I'm going to give you a quick video on my opinion of the Liberty GT MY10. And just a few small things from the beginning whilst we get ourselves going with the car. This is a dramatic change with the Liberty models for Subaru, because this engine has now got the turbo at the front of the engine, no longer down the driver's side, or this side of the engine if you're looking from America. And it's got completely different suspension layout, new rear suspension. The whole front of the suspension is now hung off a box member girder which cradles the whole front of the gearbox and the engine in one assembly. Probably one of the things that I wanted to point out that I've noticed in driving this car in the last week, and this particular car is one of our test cars, it actually belongs to one of my very good friends, is electronics and gizmos on some of these new model cars are both good and bad. And one of the things that I've noticed in driving this particular car myself is, you know, things like if I want to use the handbrake, I can't when I want it because it's now electronic. It's a electrically operated button on the dash, which, you know, if I'm driving along now in an emergency situation, or if I want to go and have a bit of fun at a skid pan day, there's no handbrake in the middle anymore for me to do handbrake turns and things like that. And of course, no matter how much I press the button while I'm driving the car, the electronics won't let me engage the handbrake for obvious reasons. Other things like, you know, if I get into the car, I have to have my foot on the clutch to be able to press the button to start the car. Now, okay, there's some safety benefits on some of these devices and things like that, but hey, if it's a normal manual car with a normal key start, in the old days, if I was stupid enough to start the car with my car in gear and my foot not on the clutch, hey, that's my fault. I want to make some of these decisions myself, and sometimes I need to learn by my mistakes. How far do we go where we start letting electronics totally control our lives and protect us from sometimes the idiots in the world who just can't do the right thing themselves? The car, from a performance point of view, being a turbo engine, is pretty sprightly. I don't think it's quite as crisp as the previous models. Obviously, prior model to that was a 2-litre engine, this being the 2.5. Meaning it went from the 2-litre to the 2.5 model and now to this new model. Just want to obviously clear that up. It's probably not as hardcore as some people want, but for what we would call a grand touring car, it's pretty impressive. It's very detuned, doesn't go anywhere near as good as what it could if it was tuned correctly, which is obviously something we can talk about later, which is obviously the work that we're doing at the moment and had a lot of success with. First time when you drive the car, it's very, very light throttle in first gear off the accelerator pedal. And remember, the accelerator in this car has no mechanical connection to the throttle at the engine. It's all fly-by-wire and electronically controlled by the ECU. I've stalled the car several times until I sort of got used to it, having driven my Evo 10 quite often and quite a lot of other cars, and that's been commented on by a few of the other guys when we've been doing road testing and some different driver evaluations of the vehicle. 6-speed transmission. I'm not so sure whether I like the fact that this is sometimes in my way when I'm changing gears. It's good that I can rest my arm on it and hold on the gear stick if I've got a bad habit and it's a long trip. I perhaps don't have both hands on the steering wheel. The dash layout's pretty good, but other little things like, at the moment I'm driving in 4th gear and there's a big number 4 at the top of the dash. I don't need the car to tell me I'm in 4th gear. Does it really matter? I mean, I think that's an oversupply of information that I really don't see any benefit of. Other things that I find a little bit annoying in the car, it's got this constantly changing gauge on the left hand side to the left of the tacho that's telling me whether I'm plus or minus in litres per 100 k's. mean, in the old days, the early model Commodores, basically that was just a dumb vacuum gauge. I'm sure Subaru run it electronically through the ECU. Not sure what the signal input is, but probably nothing more outstandingly clever. Yeah, the car on the dash up here tells me it's 30 degrees centigrade at the moment. I've got 460 kilometres left to the tank, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But why can't it tell me how many litres per 100 k's I'm getting instantaneously, or what I'm actually doing as an average? And my wife drives a Turbo Territory, and it's constantly reminding me if I want to change the dash, whether it's the average litres per 100 k's, average speed, instantaneous litres per 100 k's, and all that kind of stuff. And that's one of the things that I think is good with current technology. The ECUs are very, very able to accurately measure fuel used, distance travelled, and obviously then mathematically work out and tell me whether I'm being a lead foot or not. And that's the type of info that I would like to know. I don't need a gauge on the dash that's telling me whether I've got my accelerator pedal to the floor or not from an economy point of view. Of course I know if I take my foot off the accelerator I'm going to get better fuel economy, but I want to know exactly what I'm going to get. The tacho indicates a red line at 6,500 RPM. There's absolutely no benefit in revving the car to this. Maximum torque is fairly low. Again, after we upgrade the factory ECU and retune it, it dramatically does pick up bottom end performance, which tells us from a worldwide spec point of view, or a European Euro spec fuel economy / emissions, Subaru have been fairly limited in what they can do at bottom end performance because of the emissions requirements. And that's one of the areas that we can improve upon here in Australia, because obviously this car complies to a emissions standard that is not required here in Australia, and we can certainly get better fuel economy and performance out of the car, which certainly makes it a lot more fun car to drive. The seating position is not too bad, but I do find that these seats are, like I tend to move around a little bit if I'm pushing the car through corners. They're not as hugging as what I would have liked in a sort of performance-based type car like this. I would sort of expect these seats to be in a lower spec model of its range. I know around the back here it's got very, very big scalloping in the back of the seat, which dramatically increases the legroom in the back. In fact, this car's got more legroom in the back than my wife's four-wheel drive Turbo Territory, which is pretty impressive. But the seats sort of feel like I'm sitting on top of a really big beanbag. Other little things are, if I want to adjust the seat, I expect to go down here to use the electronic adjustments. Obviously this seat's power seat and it's not mechanical, so of course I go looking down here for the memory settings. I don't know why they put them up on the side of the door. I would have expected more door control devices on the side there. Little thing that I do like is the car now has, like a lot of cars of this era, electric automatic down and electric automatic up. And I'll just, if it's going, I put it automatically down, press the button to go back up, and I hold it straight away, the window stops from a safety point of view. But if I want to go up, I have to wait a little bit, because obviously the window mechanism assumes that there's something jammed or something in the way. But the good thing is I can, from a driver's point of view, just flick the button and let it go up in one hit. I don't understand why manufacturers don't allow me to have automatic up on all the other windows. Now, if I'm here with my kids in the back, maybe that's a safety related feature that we shouldn't be doing. I don't know. But if I'm in the car on my own and I want to put the windows up or down, I don't want to be holding the fingers on the button constantly to put them up and put them down. I'd rather have the automatic feature. And if the car's got the safety benefit of the stopping the window if something's in its way, then why not have it on all the windows as well to be able to take advantage of that feature. Other little things that I found just then changing gears, the gear shift mechanism is awfully close to the hazard switch, so I just changed gears into third gear and bumped the hazard switch, and of course the hazard lights have come on because the button is fairly light.